Welcome to the Making Sense of Marketing video series, where we look to educate and inspire people with their marketing. Today we're talking to Mike Pero, who's responsible for the creation of the nationwide chains of both Mike Pero Mortgages and Mike Pero Real Estate. So welcome, Mike. Thank you very much for joining us on Making Sense of Marketing.
Sure.
So the first thing, Mike, Making Sense of Marketing, what we're wanting to do is we want to unearth secrets to marketing success to help inspire others. So we're really hoping today that you're going to be able to share some insights with us of your success, both with Mike Pero Mortgages and Mike Pero Real Estate.
Sure.
Now, my first question, what would be an honest assessment of your marketing knowledge and experience when you started out with Mike Pero Mortgages back in '91?
Well, that wasn't something I started the business and marketing wasn't in my vocabulary at the time.
Yeah.
All I thought about was selling, and I just really wanted to sell mortgages. Oh, well, by that I mean organised mortgages and get paid by the bank. So
Yeah.
I didn't think too much about marketing. To me, it was more focused on selling.
Just selling.
Yeah.
And what made you choose, or what motivated you to choose your name for the mortgage brokering business?
Well, initially I had some other names. I think we started off also as Rickett. I had several names for trading. One was Rickerton Mortgage Services, so that was a suburb in Christchurch, well, still is. And I felt that it would be more personal to use my name.
Yeah.
And I wanted to introduce a bit of personality. I knew what I was doing. It was good. I felt that there were a couple of other things. Obviously, Michael Hill was top of mind, still is, and the way he ran his business. And
Yeah.
I thought maybe I put my name out there. It seems more personal.
Yeah. So in those early days, did you think in terms of creating a brand? Did you think at that level?
I had no idea. No, it was
Right.
really just brand building was not something on the radar for me. I didn't even think about it. All I wanted to do was people to remember my name. But look, that's one part of a brand, I suppose, brand recognition. But I didn't think of it. There was no strategy. It was, right, okay, who am I going to see today? I've got John and Jenna who want to buy a house.
Yeah.
I was too busy just running around doing things, and marketing, I guess, if I thought about it, was the fact that I'd put up a wee sign outside the door, or branding on the building, but never really thought about it much.
Right. So in those early days, did you actually put a marketing plan together, or you just kind of went, pretty
Look, I did,
unstructured approach?
every day, again, I wouldn't use the term marketing, but I'd, put together I think it was Letraset back in the days.
What's that? I've
yeah,
heard of the name, but I'm not sure what that is.
Too young. But we didn't have fancy computers. Well, actually, there were computers around, of course, but it was easier for me to just, different fonts and headings. I just used this plastic lettering that would print over the top of paper, and then photocopy it, and then fax it out to real estate agents saying, hey, I can do mortgages, and I can help you sell homes. And so real estate agents, I realised, were suddenly effectively agents marketing, helping me market mortgages. So I'd explain, we can make finance easy, and that was one of our lines, making home loans easier. And that was, I suppose it was marketing. I just thought, well, I'm just putting out pamphlets.
Yeah. And in the early days, how many staff did you have?
Well, we started with one. We doubled staff numbers 3 months later to 2. And ironically, it doubled every probably 6 months. And we expanded from Christchurch to a second office in Christchurch. Then Wellington came next, then Auckland, and the numbers grew to 40 odd offices across the country very quickly.
That's amazing. So at what point did you sort of come to realise the importance of creating a strong brand?
It was a long way down the line. I just thought of it as a business where, I don't think I'd use the term brand or branding in the first 10 years. I just thought, oh, it's just a business.
That's what you did.
But, realised the importance of brand when at one stage one of the major firms put a dollar value on our brand, and this is well down the line. This is 12, 15 years down the line. They said the brand alone had a value of $15 million. Holy cow. I had no idea that but yeah, look, in hindsight, you could say that, and proven, since then, since 05, 16 years ago, that the brand is quite powerful. And it's a brand is all about trust, respect, and clearly we've gained the respect of many thousands of Kiwis because of what we do.
Now, speaking of which, there was a Colmar Brunton poll conducted which found that the brand awareness for Mike Perry Mortgages was significantly higher than all other mortgage brokers. And it was the most trusted mortgage advisor in the country. So that shows the power of creating a strong brand, that you could rank that highly. It's quite amazing, really.
Look, that doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, it should still be the number one brand, unprompted or prompted. And there's various ways that can be measured. But ask me today, we have competitors. We have thousands of competitors in New Zealand. But look, I know if there was an instant poll, I would expect our brand to be up there. Even though, like over the last 10 years, I've been promoting real estate, and that's worked particularly well. I'm sure we'll come to that shortly. But it's the mortgages. People will sing the jingle to me 2 or 3 times a day. I'll walk past someone and then I'll hear them with their mates, like P.R. Mortgages, and they'll be singing the jingle. So the awareness is up, and I think if we did, the awareness is up, and that's big constant branding. But it's just keeping a simple message, and I guess many millions of dollars that's gone into marketing.
So speaking of which, in your mind, what are the keys to creating a strong brand?
Look, I look at other major brands that we've got, thousands of brands that we see every day, and you feel comfortable with some brands, whether it's the Hilton Hotel, you've got in your mind a quality, a level or a standard. And then you've got other brands, if it's something you're familiar with or it's in a good association, then that's a good brand. If you've heard it before. I remember many years ago, the name Samsung was so strange, didn't know what Samsung was. And that may be 20 years ago. Look at Samsung today. They've built trust. They, whether they are or aren't, they're perceived as one of the market leaders for large TVs. For cell phones. There's been other brands come and go, like Nokia. Most young people wouldn't know what a Nokia was.
No.
So brands, they come and they go, but the ones that have built trust and have got a likability about them will be the ones that the customers favour.
Right. So with both your businesses, what were the types of marketing that you typically undertook?
Initially, I did a lot of radio because that was relatively easy. And bearing in mind that when I started mortgages, the internet was just coming into line or online. It was just something. So most of our business, our adverts were on radio, and then I tried TV. Within a couple of years, I was on TV. And I realised that TV was very powerful. And people say it's all online, but and online even today is important, but we still spend more money, and I say we, the real estate company and mortgages spend more money on TV than any other medium.
It's because that was going to be my next question, is what do you find the most effective forms of marketing? So television for you would be the number one.
Well, after the statement of investing the most, I'd hope that it is the most effective, and I believe it is. I couldn't imagine spending that sort of money online, and so look, when you think about it, TV, it's visuals, it's audio, it's if you're in front of a TV, quite likely it's got your sole attention. and I always think that online's important if you're looking for something, but you've actually got to, and of course there's pop-up ads, of course, but for us in property, it's worked particularly well. That's why we spend millions of dollars advertising real estate and homes for sale, because we know that we get the attention of the viewer, especially more. Houses are very topical. They've always been topical, but people are always keen to see a house on TV or a home being see through someone's home. So TV works well there.
Right.
And for us, the least likely advertising will be print or newspaper. It's too far, too late. We spend very little on print.
Right. Okay, so your emphasis is mainly on television advertising for the properties?
I think television has worked well for us. Obviously, I front a lot of the TV commercials. I think that brings another dimension, and hopefully most of the viewers enjoy our commercials, and I put a bit of personality into it.
Yeah.
They know that the buck stops with, the CEO is on TV, he's fronting, and if people want to talk to me, I'm approachable. I really believe in what we do, and they can see that. And for many years, I've heard people, little old ladies, I say, will say, I like that young man, and he's very trusting. Well, they don't know me. All they see is me on TV. It's a perception. But if that's the perception, and I know it's reality, but they don't know that. But they trust the TV.
Do you think, though, to create a strong brand? I mean, you've got the perception about you being trustworthy and a good person. But is a brand not stronger if that's the reality as well? And we're talking to you personally here, but also in terms of other brands. Like, my point is, I guess, that if a brand truly is what it says it is, that'll be that much stronger than if it kind of just says something but it doesn't really back it up.
Look, we mean what we say and say what we mean, and that's what I like to get through, and that's what TV people say, you're so much like the real person, or the person that they mean the person they've seen on TV. I am. There's only one Mike Puro, and as you see and as the viewers are seeing now, maybe I'm a little bit more spontaneous now than they've seen in a commercial, but it is the same person, and we mean what we say and we say what we mean. We're genuine, and I wouldn't be doing it. There's nothing I wouldn't say or do that I didn't believe, and whether it's a radio commercial, we have to absolutely deliver what we say we're going to.
Yeah, it's critical for your credibility. So what about marketing failures? Have you had many of those? And if so, what sort of things have you done that haven't worked out? You've heard this cliche, 50% of my marketing's working. I just don't know which 50%.
Yeah. And that's very true.
Right.
You can try and measure the effectiveness by saying, look, phone us on this phone number, or tick this, or click here, if or do a survey. Sometimes it's not, they're so inaccurate, so you can go to focus groups and you might have 8 or 12 people there, and suddenly it can be hijacked. Colmar Brunton surveys, or any type of survey, can be precise, plus or minus, as I say, 3% error, but there's also, I have had failures, and some of them have been quite obvious. I've thrown money at something and we've got no referrals or no business out of it.
Yeah.
But then, people, we do ask people when they phone us, as a matter of interest, Paul, why did you call us today? Before I put you through to a broker, do you mind telling us what prompted you? And they say, seen you online. Okay, so we survey online, but then
might need to tell part of the picture.
Yeah, it often doesn't. If we were more precise, but then there's a balance between interrogating the customer.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, and so you just think, fine. But we often find that it indicates on the surface that a lot of people have come to us through the internet, but sometimes it's because they saw a particular house, or they saw it on TV, so they go online, and so you can be. I just make people aware of that they'll survey tick the survey, even though they saw it somewhere else, they'll say online, because that's how they got the final contact details for the agent. And they said, yeah, I've got it offline, or online, offline.
Yeah, I mean, it brings up an interesting point, because, you know, you go to an open home and often the agent will have a form and how did you hear about us and all that. And that's always concerned me, because when I've talked to real estate agents, I feel that they don't, some of them at least, don't have a full picture or a full understanding of what significance that information is. And by that I mean is that, firstly, you're asking someone who's more interested in looking at the house and filling in your form to give them something, to give them some answers. And second of all, okay, might do it, you know, to be compliant, but they'd much rather be looking at the house than giving you the full picture that, yes, I saw it in the property press, but I also, you know, Googled it online and I did this and that. And I actually saw it in a number of different ways, but they'll just rather just tick something and go on. But unfortunately, some people take it all a little bit too literally, in my experience, and they don't appreciate that. As you say, it's often a lot more complex than that. There's a lot of factors going on behind the scenes, and there can be actually a number of things at play that draw the person to behave in the way that they just have.
Yeah, I always, despite the claimed accuracy of the survey, you know, I think it's just sometimes a rough idea of what's happening out there. I don't think you can say with any precision that that's the way it is. Because the level of engagement, as you just said, well, we'll just tick, tick, tick. Yeah, that'll do. And that can indicate, you know, sometimes not the case.
No, exactly. So for you, how would you describe your approach to marketing? Have you always been kind of quite open-minded to give different things a go, or have you been quite sort of conservative and more systematic in your approach with marketing?
Maybe like a chef who's cooked a certain dish a certain way and knows that adding a bit of lemon juice here will give you this and that. Look, I've got a gut feeling most of the time that I know what I'll get. You're propositioned as a business owner, and there'll be viewers there and business owner, I don't know which I get, I could do this, I've been offered this and that, and this campaign. Look, I'd say 75% of the time I know what I'm looking for. I generally always reply to opportunities and just hear people out, but you can waste a lot of time, and so you've got to be quite brutal and say, look, I don't think this is for us. Other times, I just think, there's branding, it's a good branding exercise, you might say, or it's going to get us leads. And sometimes I think, yes, being in the fishing magazine could be handy, because a lot of people that go fishing have houses to sell. But
where does it all end, though?
Sometimes I'll justify it because, look, the demographics of people that go fishing or own boats is pretty good, and you're going to do it. But are we better off to be in property press for the same dollar amount and more directly? So it is a bit of a minefield, and I don't know that I can give a quick answer to, you know, say a plumbing or a small business, carpet cleaners, as to how where they should be advertising. But I always think, your own industry advertising is often good. But for us, TV, I think the best and most cost-effective advertising, and I'm not being paid by the TV network to say this, but I think television works for us. When you get to a certain scale, so if you're based in the Waikato and TV really only does, say, a huge area, it may or may not work, depending on the size of your business. For us, as a national company, TV works.
So at what point did you feel that your brand was really starting to gain traction and make a difference with your business? I can't think of any particular date that comes to mind, but look, probably 5 to 10 years, or maybe 5 to 10 years in the business, I thought, I could feel that there was a time when I could run ads on TV and the phone would start ringing, but that was many years ago. Now, the phone's ringing all the time. It's hard to say Yeah.
I don't sort of play an ad at 8:26 p.m. at night and expect, right, in the next 10 minutes we'll see all the
Everyone
lights.
stand by the phones.
Well, we'd have to be giving away money or,
Yeah.
or doing something outrageous to get them to ring. I think people are getting messages from all different directions, whether it pops up on your phone, an advert, or whether it's TV, print, or whatever. Everywhere you look, there's signals. I guess what you're trying to do, I think, in marketing and branding is put your brand, in the line of sight of a particular of your demographics, where they can feel comfortable that, if I need a new fridge, or I need to do this sort of travel, or I need a home loan, or I need to sell my house, at that time they feel good about your company and they're going to dial.
They're going to call. So by the time you started Mike Pero Real Estate, Mike Pero Mortgages, was incredibly well known. To what extent do you consider that Mike Pero Real Estate was able to piggyback off Mike Pero Mortgages brand?
To start with, it was pretty significant. It was a huge part, because I remember that the day I launched into the real estate company, or went public, we had commercials on both channels, major channels, TV3 and TV1, both networks, and I think we had 2 60-second bespoke ads. 60 seconds is, like most ads are either 15 or 30. I went for 60, and I built it around news, 6 o'clock news, and that's when the viewership is generally at its highest, and I wanted to tell the whole nation on that day, I think it was Sunday the 14th of February or something like that, that we're in business. As you've known us as a mortgage company, now we're a real estate company. So it was big leverage off the success of mortgages, because our surveys had already shown that 96% of homeowners knew Mike Pero Mortgages. So it made sense that, for years I said that we've been putting you into homes, now we can get you out of your home. And that was one of the lines I used, and we're proud to say that we are not like a lot of other brands, 3.95% selling. We're 2.95%. We could save you thousands. So all those lines. So look, in time, with the amount of we focused, mortgages wasn't on TV at that stage. It was a bit, but I'd now ramped it up on real estate. And I spent, again, millions every year on TV advertising.
So it'd be fair to say that if you had used a different brand, different name, it would have taken you considerably longer to really get the traction?
Look, to be honest, I'd weighed up some other brands. Virgin. I had a direct line to Richard Branson at the time, and this is in 2010. He put me onto his team in London, and they assessed the risk and said, look, from our perspective, we don't think it'll work, real estate. We've tried it before and it hasn't worked. Thanks, but no thanks. And so I knew I'd pay for that brand, and that's when I wanted something different. I wanted to get away from my own name, but I'd circled back and thought, there's too many good reasons, and so I ended up with that brand. I could have done a number of other things. I thought, well, we've got motion and traction, huge traction and huge awareness with mortgages, Mike Pero Mortgages. We're back to, and there was a lot of good reasons why it would work. We would use red as our colour, which it still is today, obviously, for both brands. So a lot of the other brands, real estate brands, are blue. We'd go red, we'd look at what they're doing, we'd do it different, and so it has been a success.
And mentioning Virgin, I mean, they're a great example where they had the Virgin brand, and then they translated that across a lot of different offerings too. So got them
exactly, and that's what I thought. The reason at the time I considered Virgin was because they had a brand, and it could have worked for me. Could have worked with me, but I underestimated the brand presence I already had. It was right on my doorstep. On the facade outside.
So while you were creating the Mike Pero brand, what, if any, challenges did you experience during that process?
Look, I'm just trying to think of the things. I don't think there were too many challenges. I knew what I wanted. I knew we had a name of a real person, which in mortgages and real estate, there's one or two others that now use their name, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But it had worked for me. I suppose the name was short and simple and different, as opposed to John Smith.
Yeah.
A lot of others, a lot of my competitors or colleagues in the industry just use the suburb name or something else. They'd make up a name. I think when you put your name behind a brand and you're a real person, you're very careful, you're more diligent, you're more personable. So it generally can work. And obviously there are thousands of those, obviously Michael Hill and Noel Lemming, and when I say thousands, there's probably hundreds in New Zealand, but some of the most successful brands you've got to face. The Mad Butcher,
There's pressure is on you though, isn't it though? Because you don't want to undermine that brand, so you've really got to be careful, like in your private life and that, so that it doesn't come back and undermine your brand.
Look, obviously, you're keeping your nose clean. You're not one to make a big scene in a restaurant because the meat's undercooked. Take it away. Because if you've done your marketing job well, everyone knows you, and there's that Perot going off again. I've never done that, never would.
No.
I'm just very conscious that you are just seen to be a good, honest Kiwi, and you're on show. And the more, just like, the news readers, everyone knows what they put in their shopping basket. Well, not everyone, but you're more aware of what you do. And I guess I'm very much a public face, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a lot of small businesses, they don't really put very much time into building their brand. If you did the same, do you think that you would have achieved the same outcome with both your businesses if you hadn't really ended up? I know you didn't in the beginning, it kind of evolved, but ultimately at some point you did start to really appreciate the value of your brand and put a lot into it. But if you hadn't gone down that route and really emphasised your brand, put effort into it, do you think you would have got the same outcome?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's like I used to use the analogy or synergy of a farmer with putting fertiliser. Each year you want the crop to be better or at least as good as last year, or so you've got to keep putting something back in, and there's a certain amount of spend. If you don't put whether it's superphosphate or whatever out there, you won't get the crop, and it's the same with marketing. And I found that when I first stepped up my marketing, and it was in the early 90s, I took a huge increase in advertising and spend, and that was in radio on 91 ZM way back in the day, and I put a huge amount. I can't remember the dollar figure, but the sales rep sold me on the fact that I thought, wow, is this an offer to buy my company? No, that's just next month's advertising. Mike, if you advertise with us, it'll work.
Yeah.
And sure enough, she was right. And Victoria, I thought it was a punch in the stomach, but it was actually her proposition for radio advertising, and it worked.
Right.
And so, wow, huge. Well, let's just keep doing that. And sure enough, and the more you put in, I found, the better it worked. So getting, there are probably viewers watching thinking, well, how much do I put in? Well, look, maybe as a starting point, you might say like 6 or 10% of turnover.
Yeah.
But if it's put the right way, whether today, obviously you've got to look at everything online. There's so many levels of marketing and so many options. It is a wee bit confusing. If all you want to do is spray paint cars and you're a panel shop or collision repair, or whether you're whatever you do, a furniture store, then marketing is going to be critical. But knowing where to do it, maybe you engage somebody that is able to help you. So it's a tough call at knowing where to put it. But look, it's just trial and error, and just trial.
Now, I'm not looking to criticise accountants, but the reality is that accountants under accounting doctrine deem marketing to be an expense.
Yeah.
And it very much can be. But my opinion is, out in the business world, if you do a good job with your marketing, you can actually turn it into an investment. It doesn't have to be an expense. And I guess what I'm hearing from you with that experience that you've had is an example where it wasn't an expense, it was actually an investment. The return you got from it was far greater than the amount that capital that you outlaid to get it.
Absolutely. And most people, if you select the right type of advertising or marketing, then it is absolutely an investment. Yeah, you can use either word, investment or expense. And yes, it is always going to be in the expense column, and the accountants do talk. Back over the years, I've had fellow directors say, "Wow, do you think you could cut the marketing back?" So yeah, I could. We can cut the revenue at the same time, but it's really hard to know how much. It's like supercharging your revenue. So. Like a supercharger on a car, the more boost, maybe the more performance you're going to get. So, but it's knowing what's going to give you the maximum bang for buck. And look, let's face it, if we put in $1 into marketing, or let's say a campaign, you're going to spend $10,000. If that got you back $20,000, you'd be over the moon. Net extra or incremental increase to your margin or profit. You've got another 10 grand, you'd be happy. Would you be happy if it only got you 5 grand? In other words, you put 10 and you got 15. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. If it's a monthly, any incremental increase for a given amount of energy or money, in this case, why wouldn't you? So yes, I'd love to double my, get $1 back for every dollar. I'd like to get $1.10, $1.20. But anything that's marginal increase over and above, worthwhile.
Yeah, and it's like all investments, though, isn't it? It's about investing wisely.
Yeah.
You can have investments where you put the money in and you lose it all. So it's no different, is it?
Look, every day we're faced with those sort of decisions, and no matter what you do, you're always looking for the best end result.
Yeah. So, at the moment, you're in the process of establishing a new business, Pacifica Air. Can you first tell me, what are you envisaging being your target market, and as a consequence, your vision for the brand and where it will sit in the market?
Yep, our target market is passengers, preferably human. That's what, look, it's a bit like in the industry of real estate and mortgages. Yeah, people say, what's your target market? Well, anyone that wants to buy a house or sell a house. So it's a wide range. And the same with passengers these days. It's not just high net wealth that are going to fly business class or whatever we choose to do. But, you go back 20 or 30 years ago, people, got all dressed up to travel by air.
Yeah.
Now it's really just a bus trip. And, shorts and jandals, it's quite acceptable. I remember 20 years ago, a captain refusing to take a passenger because they didn't have proper footwear on the plane. Well, that would be most of half of the flights today. Some airlines, they're all casual. But so look, it doesn't. You're talking domestic. We're talking international. Yeah, our market is passengers that want something. Something different.
So will you be budget? Are you going for the budget end, or?
No, our intention is not to go budget.
Right.
I won't go into too much detail, but look, we, like any service industry or business, it's about delivering the highest service standard. So all I'll say is that, we want service, attention to detail.
Yeah.
It'll be priced competitively.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, suffice to say that I believe in doing things well, service ahead of price.
Yeah. And what do you think will be the key channels that you're going to use for your marketing?
I would expect that as we get closer, we'll be reviewing all but it's going to be very consistent with what I've done in the past: television, online, and combination of other things, but predominantly television.
And although you're not using the Mike Pero name, are you still looking to leverage off the name in terms of the promotion of the airline?
Look, yes, I've got a vision in my mind. We haven't finalised the strategy. It won't be complicated. I think it'll come down to trust again. I think people... I use Sir Richard Branson as a great example of somebody that has got a personality. He's a character, but he's also a successful businessman.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of businesses would say, I'd like to be like Richard Branson, or a lot of business owners, because he was the underdog against British Airways.
Yeah.
People liked his spirit, and at the end of the day, I've used the term before, likability. People like your brand. They like the Virgin brand. He's got spirit. It's generally price competitive, and they do things different.
Yeah.
So again, it won't be maybe too dissimilar to his philosophies.
And I guess finally, given the significant experience you've had with your marketing, what would be the key pieces of marketing advice that you would offer to people that are either starting out or are already running a small business? What things do you think they should be aware of and really focus on to help them succeed with their marketing?
Look, obviously good advice, where they get that and what they pay for that. It's really a matter of giving some thought as to identifying who your market are. And look, to answer the same question you gave to me, what is your market? Well, in some industries you can be quite broad, and but identifying the most likely to get to your lowest hanging fruit, you've actually got to identify who's going to be eating the fruit or buying the fruit. So you often have to identify who they are, do a bit of market research. Some cases you'll know because of your product it's aimed at a particular type, but again, whether you're, again, I use the panel shop or automotive or whatever, if you're a BMW repair shop, motor vehicle automotive, then maybe you don't need to be advertising on TB2 during What Now? And that's an extreme. You hopefully don't waste your money advertising to the wrong market where it's under 12-year-olds. So you pick your market, you pick your marketing. Maybe there's just so many options, and that's where it's difficult to say, but say exactly. But just know your market and aim as much towards that.
And that sounds quite a simple thing, but in my experience, it's surprising how many people don't really know their target market, don't really understand it as well as what they could. So from my point of view, I believe that if someone really understands the target market, understands the DNA of the people they're targeting, you can then design everything to cater to them, to really resonate with them so that they will come to you. Whereas if you don't really totally understand your market, what that market looks like, then you potentially won't be as effective with your marketing.
Millions, if not billions of dollars are wasted every year by companies targeting what they thought was their market when it wasn't.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, yes, all you're doing is throwing a big net around a large group of people, but most of those may not be customers, but so long as the numbers, again coming back to the level of investment, the ratio of warm leads to hot leads to closures and all that, the amount of, you just want to get a nice happy rate of return, I guess, return on investment.
Yeah.
But it's just having, with experience, and I guess after being in business for close to 40 years, thinking I know what I'll get and I know what's going to work, and I'm just going to try this, test this, and then Again, like the chef that's just making up a nice casserole, we'll just throw a little bit of this and that in. Maybe too much curry might make it too hot, or too many other bits and pieces. You'll get a certain flavour. But at the end of the day, it's still edible. People are happy, but would they have been happier if we had put less garlic in there? Don't know.
So, you didn't start out with a marketing background.
No.
But you've learnt a lot during the journey.
Yep.
So, I guess for me, the message for people out there watching this or listening to this is that you don't have to start out with a marketing degree.
No.
But you just need to, I guess, kind of have an awareness and learn as you go, in terms of what you do try, and that you can become quite skilled with marketing if you're prepared to put the effort in.
Absolutely. One of my own daughters has got a marketing degree, and she's doing well. Different style to me. She knows all the technical, and she's learned well. I didn't, as you know, have a marketing degree. I just learned on the street, and look, some of the greatest successes have been from randoms like me who just stumble along, and it works. But equally, there's a lot of clever people, and I have a lot of respect for those that know how to get there another way, more sophisticated. But I just, if you are in business now, you have a small business, don't just think you necessarily need to spend thousands on consultancy. In some cases, yes, it will work. But there are so many ways that you can bring your customers in. But I think in a nutshell, I would say consider using your own personality. I didn't like doing it. I was very reluctant to put my name across the front door, but boy, it has worked.
Worked for you.
And a lot of, I would spend, other advice is I would keep your business simple, the message simple, the branding professional. If you're going to spend some money on branding, and that's, like signage and logos, that's where I always make sure we got the right logo, the right branding, because that's the perception. So if it looks very lightweight or Mickey Mouse or amateur, that's the perception they have when your van goes past. And it looks, but you do good branding on a van or on your building or wherever it is, and you maintain brand standards and you're on point, then that make a huge difference. That's the perception people have of your brand.
So it's that consistency across everything, isn't it? The consistency of that brand look and feel is important.
Yeah, you look at the brands that are leading, not only in New Zealand but globally, they're consistent. And there's thousands of beautiful brands out there that are so high standard and consistent. And that's what, whether you're, as I say, a drain layer, you're an excavation, or you're plumber, painter, whatever, or a tech company, just spend some money on branding, getting the brand right, and brand manual if need be, just so that whenever your brand appears, it's consistent. The colour, the PMS colour, it's all very, wherever it goes, the signwriter that's going to do your signage on the building, it's consistent with everything else you put out there.
And beyond that though, a lot of people just think in terms of the brand being the logo, but as you said, we touched on before really, it goes much beyond that. And for you, for argument's sake, your conduct out in the private environment has an impact on your brand. So I guess, when people come into a business, like if a business has a lovely logo and a very professional logo, and then you visit the business and they're incredibly unprofessional, and that will then undermine that brand. So you want to have a really on point logo, but you also want to ensure that the conduct of the business is consistent with that brand image you're trying to create.
Exactly, and that's that goes without saying, that all the stages, the customer experience, from the time they pick up the phone to make an appointment or to call you out, or right through to your own premises, the welcome as you walk in the door, and it's not someone busy on the phone and talking away, or talking to their friend about what they're doing the weekend, and you don't even get a glimpse of so many. Even more recently, I thought, do they know I'm here? If they do, it annoys me even more because they haven't acknowledged me. So all elements of, and that's where businesses obviously lose or win customers.
Now, another final question for you. Small business owners, they have to often be a jack of all trades, because they can't afford to employ a lot of different people. When it comes to marketing, are you of the mind that, yes, they do it all themselves, or are you more of getting the professionals for some things, maybe you do some things yourself, but know when to get someone else in? What's your take on that?
There's going to be a wide range of viewers, and some will be family businesses, small family businesses, others will be bigger, others can afford it. Look, there's no harm in seeking advice, making it clear that, if you are in a position where you think, I don't think I know what I need to do, but call in a consultant and say, from advertising, from an ad agency, or say, look, I'm looking to spend some money, here's my business, we turn over roughly this, I want to take it to this, tell me what you think, I want to know, I want you guys to give me a pitch, and say, look, I don't want to spend any money until you've told me, this is, I've got a gut feeling I want to do this is my, let them pitch to you, and hopefully it costs nothing. And if they're smart, they'll say, well, look, you should be we could do this and that, we can help you through this, and our fees will be this, and this is what we think you should spend.
Right.
Well, you can ask all the questions, but look, I've never been, I do use ad agencies, I use media buyers, but more recently, I've used more and more of professionals as time's gone on, because my time, I'm better focused on the business. So I can't answer that for everyone, but look, if you can afford to get a bit of independent professional advice, take it.
So would it be of your, well, let's put it this way, would you agree with the idea that it's important for small business owners just to look to spend their time when they're most productive?
Yeah.
And if they're better or more productive out there making widgets, they'd be better off to bring someone else in to do the marketing. So that whatever they do in their business, they need to be thinking about, is this the best use of my time? Am I most productive doing this? Should I do this myself, or should I get someone else to do that?
Exactly. If we come back to, if you're a draftsman or an architect, chances are you're really good at that and better at that and trained at that than marketing. And it's just like, the marketing guy might use the architect to design his home. We can't all be good at everything, and it's quite likely my advice is a generalisation, call in the professionals and focus on your knitting and do what you do well.
Because I think that's often a challenge for small business operators, is they're trying to keep their costs down. So the thought of paying someone else to do something, but you've always got to be mindful of, well, if I paid someone else to do that, what's it going to cost versus what could I be doing and what's that worth to me? And make that calculation and then make the decision based on that.
Well, generally for electrical work, you'll get an electrician. Plumbing, you'll get a plumber. Marketing, a marketing expert. And that's just the fact of life. But I always think, given the choice, the accountant might say, look, let's just bring the expenses down. I'd say, well, let's just increase the sales. I always used to say, and my agents at the time, or my mortgage brokers, I'd just say that they might complain about the cost of this and that, and I'd say, well, just do another mortgage, sell another house each month, and that takes care of that rather than reducing costs.
Yeah.
So I'm more sales. The glass. I was going to say the glass is half empty, but it's definitely empty. But I'm more into increasing revenue. I find increasing revenue sometimes easier than cutting costs.
Right.
Because you should always be monitoring costs, but revenue is easily ramped up by a bit of marketing money.
Yeah. So if your perspective is always about growth, focusing on growth as opposed to
Yeah.
not picking on accountants, but they're more focused on cost reduction.
Yep.
And as you say, if you're doing a good job with your management anyway, you should always, as a business owner, be trying to keep the costs down within reason anyway. So it should largely take care of itself within reason.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike. It's
Been a pleasure.
it's been amazing, and really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're really busy at the moment, so thank you. And I know I've got a lot out of it, and I'm sure everyone that watches or listens to this will too. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.